Everyone, 6 o'clock here on your Wednesday morning. We are halfway through the week. Jason and Alicia here with you, and we're on a slow climb up to, I guess, normal. Not normal, because it's not normal
John,
right now.
what's
It's
normal?
mild.
We forget.
Yeah.
Well, if Tony Hansen's watching from St. Cloud, he would be very angry if I said the word normal. It's an average, okay? There is no normal in Minnesota. Did you get because 0 and 40 makes 20, right? But do we ever hang out at 20? Not really, right? So we're gonna make an average this week. We're gonna do some zeros and then we're gonna do some 40s. Then that is normal, right? 5 and 5. That was a good rant. That was. I'm sure he's proud. I hope you're watching, Tony. 6 degrees warmer now than yesterday. We're at 2 above, 3 above in St. Cloud, -4 in Wilmer, -10 in International Falls. So it is still cold. They got a nice snowpack to the north. It's going to be a cold day today, but the winds are still going to be out there. So we're going to have these wind chills in the -15 to -20 range. It is better. It's a start, but it's still very cold. We'll talk about that big warm up that will make the average in a little bit.
John, thank you. Unfortunately, we are seeing stop and go. That red line in the North Metro, 694 westbound, right through Fridley. We're dealing with this, a stalled vehicle blocking that right shoulder. You can see the flashing lights and a lot of tail lights this morning. So this is your route. Maybe give yourself 5-10 extra minutes this morning because this has been causing quite the slowdown so far. Well, hey, it might not feel like it this morning, but this is a mild winter, and only now are most of our lakes starting to freeze up.
Yeah, winter's delay caused a lot of issues for outdoor events, waiting for Minnesota to freeze over. Cece Gaines is live at Lake Harriet with new information from climatologists. Cece, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, so climatologists say this is the longest in almost 150 years where it's taken this long for Minnesota lakes to freeze over. Now, Lake Harriet behind me, we are told that it froze over this weekend, but before that, there was just a lot of open water. Now, climatologists are saying, and you've heard here too on Sunrise, that the mild winter is due to a super El Nino and event that happens every couple of decades. Now, this season, though, is one for the record books. Experts say this year's event rivals one all the way back in 1877, which is known to be maybe the warmest super El Nino ever. Note-taking back then shows they had never seen anything like that.
It was unbelievably warm, and that there was open water on the Mississippi, both sides of Lake Pepin, and even some northern lakes.
Yeah, definitely seeing some similarities now, but it's taken a minute for things to freeze over here on the lakes, and that is impacting and postponing some events. Coming up in 30 minutes, we'll hear from organizers about how they're keeping those events going and what they're doing. Jason, Alicia.
All right, good updates there, Cece. Thank you.
Here's a closer look at the recommendations from the DNR when it comes to ice thickness and winter activities. Stay off if it's less than 4 inches thick. 5 to 7 for a snowmobile, a foot for a car, and more than that for a truck. And make sure the ice is at least 20 inches thick if you're putting up your ice house. They double down on the fact the ice is never 100% safe.
This morning, winter weather is still gripping the nation, and now we're learning at least 14 people have died in connection to the Arctic blasts. Half of those deaths were in Oregon, where thousands are still without power after a weekend storm. In fact, more than 80,000 homes and businesses without power in the United States, and most of them are in Oregon. Unfortunately, electric companies say restoration efforts could be delayed even more since freezing rain is expected today. This is impacting most of the Pacific Northwest, but Western Oregon is expecting the worst of it. As you can imagine, the bad weather is causing several flight cancellations and delays. In fact, yesterday alone, we saw more than 2,000 flights canceled and nearly 7,000 delays. This is all happening as Alaska and United Airlines had to cancel flights because of the grounding of the Boeing 737.
In the last 24 hours, we've learned there's a second lawsuit centered around that door blowout that happened on an Alaska Airlines flight. An attorney says 4 of the passengers on that flight are taking both the airline and Boeing to court over negligence. They say the January 5th incident caused fear, distress, anxiety, trauma, physical pain, and other injuries. This latest legal action comes after a class action lawsuit was filed last week against Boeing on behalf of multiple passengers.
With 3 days left until funds run out, the Senate has advanced a short-term funding extension to avoid a government shutdown. The measure gives lawmakers until March to reach an agreement to fund the government for the year. It's not a done deal yet. Senate leaders still need to agree to a time to pass a final version of the bill and the House still needs to vote on it.
I urge my Republican colleagues in the Senate to work with us to keep this process moving quickly on the floor. Leader McConnell and I are in discussions about this very issue. The vast majority of us are all on the same page that a government shutdown would be a recipe for chaos.
So if this doesn't go through, money will run out on Friday for a few key government agencies, including military construction, Veterans Affairs, transportation, and housing.
Back here in Minnesota, Governor Walz unveiled his proposal to spend almost $1 billion on infrastructure in our state. A little less than half of it is going towards fixing and preserving existing buildings, something the Walz administration says is a priority this session. The other half includes money for drinking water, transportation, public safety, and housing.
Those are the things that that make Minnesota work. They're the things that connect us together. They're the things that improve safety and drive commerce.
The bonding bill needs support from 3/5 of lawmakers, which means Walz will need to convince Republicans. Republican State Senator Karen Housley says she's concerned there isn't more money in the proposal for local needs across Minnesota, like wastewater treatment and crumbling roads.
This morning, we're learning another Republican state lawmaker is leaving the Capitol. State Representative Pat Garofalo says he won't run for re-election. Garofalo was first elected in 2004 to represent parts of Dakota and Goodhue counties. This news comes less than a week after Republican Kurt Daudt announced he's leaving the legislature early as well. Meanwhile, Minnesota Supreme Court Justice Margaret Chudich announced that she's retiring this summer. Chudich was appointed 12 years ago and is the first openly gay person to be seated on the bench. This announcement comes less than a week after Justice Barry Anderson said that he's stepping down.
The Metro's largest youth mentoring organization, Big Brothers Big Sisters, just launched a recruitment campaign for more volunteers. Here's how you can help.
I'm Kaya Edwards. January is National Mentoring Month, and here in the Twin Cities area, Big Brothers Big Sisters is doing a big recruitment campaign. The nonprofit is posting online and using billboards to ask 500 adults to sign up to mentor a kid or a teen, meaning 500 youth are currently enrolled in programming but are waiting to be matched with a mentor. Contact Big Brothers Big Sisters to help.
Kai's done great work with that organization over the years, and we thank her for that. This morning, the Mill City Museum is hoping for your vote. It's among 20 nominees for USA Today's Best History Museum in the country. It's up against places like the National World War II Museum in New Orleans. I'm going to that this week. I will tell you how it is.
I would love to go there. Sounds great.
Follow me on social. I'll post things. National Center for Civil and Human Rights is in Atlanta, and then the museum, our museum, took 4th last year. You can vote every day through February 12th.
Love a good museum.